mentioned that any ecological disaster on our planet, or as I interpret it, weather, is a direct reflection of us not being in our natural selves. Can grounding and reconnecting with the earth and nature help us align with our natural state and potentially lead to a positive impact on the weather and mitigating ecological disasters?
Yes, to some degree, though some of the choices that humanity has made collectively around your globe now has caused certain things to move forward that are, shall we say, irreversible. So you will need to adapt to the changes you have already decided to make through your choices, whether unconscious, whether positive or negative. Some of it can be mitigated if actions are taken to replace the things that have been destroyed. It's not just about meditation. It's not just about the idea of shifting the energy within your own self. It's now about the idea of shifting that energy within yourself and allowing the resultant actions to reflect those shifts in your energy, to replace and repair the damage that has been done in the areas in which you can do so. That can mitigate some of it, but it will not mitigate all of it. This is a natural Earth cycle, although humanity's technology has accelerated it faster than it would have otherwise occurred. If there had not been the ecological damage caused by humanity's technology at this point, this kind of cycles that you're experiencing may not have occurred for another 100 of your years, but you have accelerated it. And therefore, some of it cannot be mitigated, but some of it still can be.
Um, what was it that we did specifically that accelerated it?
Well, I think that's clear. Everything on your planet is primarily polluted. You have
Yeah.
polluted the air, polluted the food, polluted the water, polluted the land. There are many things you have done that are, in a sense, out of balance with the natural cycle. And therefore, you have kind of tipped the scales in that direction of acceleration, because the Earth cycles are for clarifying the Earth in certain kinds of ways. You have tipped the scales to make the Earth cycle act more quickly to clarify itself, to
I
bring
see.
itself back into balance.
I see.
Sometimes this requires eradication of certain things that are out of balance. Certain areas may experience what you call natural disasters to bring it back into balance.
When you say that, I think about you mentioned that the highest vibration areas are the ones that have a lot of nature around them or in them.
Yes.
And I think about the mountains in California, the Sierra Nevada, a lot of nature, but they're also prone to wildfires, and it's very scary sometimes. Is that
Yes. But remember that fires are a natural way of forests replenishing themselves. Remember that the idea of ash and charcoal enriches the soil in great ways. This is why in the Amazon, long ago, the indigenous natives understood that they needed to inject charcoal and ash and certain other elements of waste into the soil to create what they called dark earth, terra preta. And that is a very rich soil that allows for the growth of things that would otherwise not grow on the nutrient poor soil that was natural in the area. So they laid on top of it a thick layer of dark earth that contained a large amount of charcoal and ash, which allows for more nutrients to be attracted to the area in certain ways that would help their food to grow. So the idea of wildfires are a natural cycle that can allow for the enrichment of the soil in the future for other things to grow more heartily. Remember that in a sense, you're looking at it from a human perspective. The only reason these things are scary is because you build houses in these areas. Otherwise, in nature, fires are natural, caused by lightning and a few other things. So just because your population is building in areas where these things naturally happen, you find them to be fearful.
should we not build in those areas?
If you do build in those areas, we would strongly suggest that you build something fireproof instead of building houses out of wood.
Yes. Okay.
Not to say that you can't find a different way and a different balance of where you build as well. Remember that some of the reasons why you build in certain places have political motivations, financial motivations, things that are, in a sense, not representative of the natural world. And therefore, you might take yourselves out of the natural patterns of building villages and towns and cities in places where they otherwise probably wouldn't be built if you were following more natural patterns.
Hmm. Okay. Um, Here's a question about food. Why
Yeah.
is it that foods that are bad for us, like chocolates, mac and cheese, French fries, and donuts, all taste so good, but the foods that are good for us, like kale, spinach, and broccoli, taste bad?
It's because of what you have gotten used to. These things don't taste bad when you're used to them. They actually can taste quite good. And some of the things you're saying are bad for you aren't necessarily as bad as you might think when taken in moderation. But the idea in general is that you've simply been trained to consider certain things as tasting bad and tasting good. So you have to let go of your training and retrain yourself to understand what it is you're getting out of some of those things you have named that are more natural, and they will actually start to taste quite good to you. And look around, because many people actually find some of the things you talked about as actually quite tasty. Not everyone in your planet thinks that those things taste bad.
Right. But when we feed babies, they tend to prefer the sweet stuff, or is that just kind of our projection?
It's a little bit of your projection. Some of it is required in order for them to build certain kinds of antibodies and proteins and other things, but not necessarily as much as you might think. There is a limit to how much they actually require for growing. And it's simply up to you to develop the knowledge of where those limits are. But the idea, again, is that beyond a certain point, then they are simply being trained to react to those things. And as they grow, they will want more and more of those things instead of developing a more balanced palate for the things that truly serve them when they get older.
Another question about children. The psyche of young children makes them believe that everything revolves around them. I was wondering if that has something to do with the strong connection they still have with spirit and the higher mind, and they can unconsciously know we are the creators of our reality.
That is true to some degree. However, another part of why children may react that way is, again, depending upon the themes they have chosen to explore, what it is they are choosing to reflect to those around them, the adults around them and other children around them, in terms of things that other people may need to consider for themselves by seeing reflections in the children that may be acting in a way that you call selfish. So the idea, remember, is that they're coming into a collective consciousness agreement, and they are adopting many of the traits that their parents are also dealing with, many of the issues that are existing within your culture and your societies. So a lot of that has to do more with what's going on in the theme that they are reflecting to your society, although there is a small part of it that is spurred on by the fact that they know they are the center of their reality. But it's not necessarily the main part with regard to the idea of what they're choosing to reflect in the collective consciousness and the issues that are contained within it that your society may or may not be looking at within itself.
Mhm. Here's a current events question. Um, there have been many reports of increasing number of orca attacks on boats and ships around the world in recent years. Can you tell us what this is about and how it might relate to open contact?
We're going to answer this very simply. You could just say, because the orcas are symbolic of the samurai of the sea, that they have banded together to enact a sort of payback to the damage done by boats to cetaceans in the ocean. So they are the protectors, and therefore they are letting humans know in no uncertain terms that their boats have caused a lot of damage in certain areas to many cetaceans, and therefore they are reflecting back to you the results of that damage in many cases.
Mhm. You've mentioned that your ship is positioned above Bella Rock in Sedona for the
Yes.
purpose of, as I understand it, regulating and controlling energies. What are the energies you are referring to? I felt a flow along the ground, knee level, when I was there. Can you tell us something about these energies radiating at Bell Rock?
Well, it is the center of the general vortex in that area, a portal to other dimensional connections. We are adding our energy and helping regulate the patterns and the frequencies so that you can have a smoother transition, because that vortex is specific as a reflective mirror to the idea of amplifying and magnifying whatever it is in your issues and energy you bring with you into the Sedona vortex. So by regulating it to some degree, we can help smooth out the reactions that people may be experiencing in what they bring with them into that vortex, positive and or negative, so that they can have easier transitions in adapting to that particular energy of higher dimensionality. The effect that you're experiencing at knee level is simply the result of a flow of transitioning that kind of energy into the electromagnetic field of the earth itself that is flowing all around you and extends from the ground about that far up, at least as dense as you need it to be to experience it. It goes somewhere between the idea of shin level, knee level, hip level. Some that are more sensitive to it might feel it all the way to the top of their body, but it becomes more rarefied as it goes away from the ground, that electromagnetic field. But the effects of the vortex in that electromagnetic field can be felt by those that are sensitive to it.
Can ETs connect with us through the technology we have nowadays instead of using different types of channelings?
Oh, yes, it is absolutely possible. But remember, the reason for the channeling is that you get a more three-dimensional version of the
Mhm.
communication. You get the nuances and the subtleties of body language and inflection in your language and so on and so forth. So it's a much more, shall we say, well-rounded form of communication that can allow you to understand more clearly the total intention of the message and information being delivered than, say, it would from a radio transmission or something like that, which would appear and feel relatively flat to you and be questioned as to its background intentions because you're not feeling it on more than one simple level.
So ETs could potentially communicate with us through radio.
And sometimes they have. You may or
Oh,
may not recognize it as such. Sometimes you may think it's a spirit. But yes, sometimes that communication has happened, but again, it's left relatively limited because of the limitations of the technology. Whereas again, telepathically combining or blending or matching the frequencies of a person through channeling can give you, as we said, a much more in-depth and well-rounded form of the communication intended. But sometimes, yes, it can come through your electronic devices. It just depends on the reason for that.
that's pretty cool. Um, Talking about frequencies, here's a question about grays. You've said that grays are only operating at a frequency of 50,000 cycles per second and thus have a negative orient.
Stop. We didn't say that they had a negative energy just because they're operating at a lower frequency. That is an assumption and an interpretation on the part of the questioner.
Mhm.
There are different levels of grays at different points in your history, in your timeline. Some of them have higher frequencies and some of them have lower frequencies depending on where they're at. So don't misinterpret the idea of a lower vibration being automatically a negative thing.
You've answered the question.
Yes.
um, Referring to the hybridization agenda, when you say some humans have been given energetic templates or framework or skeleton key to create hybrids, what do you actually mean? And do they have hybrid children?
Some of them do, some of them don't. The idea of the energetic template is based on the structure of the DNA but the actual physical molecular DNA is not required. The energy template that created the DNA is sufficient upon which to grow the idea of the hybrid being.
So
In other
some
words, it's like an injection of instructions without the actual physical material.
so some people have instructions and some people don't.
Oh no, everyone has instructions. It's just that some of the instructions that create the DNA are not relevant for the hybridization agenda, at least not at that time. So the idea is that there are those instructions, patterns of energy, remember, everything is energy, everything, patterns of energy, which we're calling instructions. Some of them are simply more relevant and conducive to the idea of what is necessary for the creation of the hybrid civilizations. And therefore, we simply match the frequencies of those instructions and use those frequencies to grow the hybrid beings physically, so that we don't necessarily always need the physical material.
Hmm. And are there certain types of people who have these instructions?
There are, now we're not going to get very specific about this, but the idea is that at one time we did say that those that have some of the strongest connections to the ancient Anunnaki bloodlines are usually, not always, usually the ones that are used for these energetic templates. Now, there are many other things, many other connections that people have to Pleiadians, to Sirius energy, to Arcturus vibrations, and so on and so forth, that are also used in the energy template. So it's just about the way in which these energy connections exist for that person based on their theme of exploration, and a lot of other factors that we're not going to go into right now that create a particular recipe of energy patterns that are relevant and conducive for the creation of the hybrid beings that would allow them to mature in a balanced and positive way.
Okay. We have a quick Willa question here.
Yes,
Is there a specific place in Ireland where I could meditate on Willa's energy?
Three Rock Mountain.
Okay. Do we inherit silver cords from the Sasquatch or the Anunnaki? Does this mean that
No,
we
no,
are?
no, 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 no. This is a misunderstanding. Again, anything that is spirit that projects itself into the experience of physical reality creates a silver cord. You don't inherit them from other beings. Every being has its own silver cord that is physical, going back up to its spiritual self. This is a misunderstanding of the concept of silver cords.
Why is ancient wisdom and knowledge represented by the serpent?
Because the serpent, as expressed on the medical caduceus, represents the idea of the DNA spiral. And therefore, as we just talked about, there's a lot of information and ancient wisdom and knowledge encoded in the information that creates the idea of physical DNA.
Mhm. When we learn about DNA in school, we learn about quote unquote junk DNA, where it's about 90%. Can you talk about this? This junk
Only in a
DNA?
limited fashion for now, but junk DNA is not junk. It's connecting you to many things you simply haven't discovered yet. And it's also not junk, but some of it, in a sense, could be said to be dormant or markers that haven't turned on yet, that
Oh,
will turn on as you raise your vibration and evolve.
I see. Okay. A pyramid question. Was the Great Pyramid built before, was the Great Pyramid built after the flood or before? There are watermarks
Yes,
partway up the pyramid.
was
If it,
built before, as the knowledge of the imminent destruction of Atlantis was known by the people that left early. And these structures around the world were built as safeguards of information to preserve that information against the upcoming disaster, against the flood that occurred because of the cometary impact into the Atlantic Ocean, because of the tsunamis that resulted. So yes, it was built before.
and is the information still somewhat preserved in there, or has it dissipated?
No, for the most part, it's still there. Even though the pyramid has to some degree been disassembled from its original form, those that are investigating are getting some of the information correct, and some of it they still have to translate properly. But
Mhm.
many of you do understand that it is something that encodes information on many different levels and in many different disciplines of scientific knowledge and spiritual knowledge.
What really are the underwater structures near Yonaguni Island in Japan or the Baltic Sea anomaly?
Remnants of the ancient land of Mu, what you call Lemuria, that sunk long ago.
Here's a question about letting go. I'm so excited about increased disclosure and other exciting things happening. However, I'm having trouble letting go of my best friend, ex-partner, with whom I shared everything, and I now feel lonely and alone. Can you advise me on how to gain a positive perspective and how to move on?
Well, you're not alone. You're never alone. You always have your guides. You always have those that have passed on or simply not incarnated that are part of your soul family. And the idea of feeling alone just because you are no longer in contact with one particular physical being can be looked at as an opportunity to move on to attract those who are now more representative of the new level that you have taken yourself to in your evolutionary path. You are never alone, but you can make yourself feel alone by hesitating to move forward on your path. So examine your belief systems to find out why you have created this attachment and why it's necessary for you to have connection with that particular person as opposed to moving forward to connect to the people that would now serve you best. Take what you have learned out of the unconditional love of the agreement you have made and the experiences you have had with that person in your life and use them to upscale and upgrade your own vibration to attract the next people that you need to reflect to you what you need to know in your life to move forward on your path. You are never alone. You are not alone right now. You
Thank
have
you.
just created a void for yourself because of your unwillingness to move forward. And that void can feel like you're alone, but you're creating that space for yourself. So you can let go of that space and attract in the people that you need. It does not mean that you're abandoning the other person or discounting or dishonoring what you have learned from them or what the relationship was for you at that time. You're carrying it forward, taking with you what it is you learned about yourself to become more of who you are, and now using that experience to attract who and what you need for your continued evolution. And again, you are never alone.
Is that space of loneliness part of the grieving process or
It can
grief?
be. It can be. But again, beyond a certain point, if you continue to grieve, you're actually preventing yourself from receiving communications that may be coming to you from spirit because you're blocking them with your sorrow.
Mhm.
So grieve as a process of letting go. That's fine. Cry the tears that wash the chemical constituents out of your body that are connected to ideas you no longer need, that are no longer relevant for you, old beliefs, and move forward so that you may absorb and create new beliefs, new experiences within you. But again, you always have help. You are never alone. You just have to let go of this idea that you're alone to start realizing that you're never alone. Unless, of course, you wish to be. Then they will leave you alone, but not for long, because they will always be whispering in your ear that you have the ability and the power and the self-respect and the self-worthiness to move forward.
Thank you. Um, since my talking about moving forward, since my wife's passing last year, I've been sensitive to psychic sensing, sensing my wife's presence, sensing people's health conditions, and even relaying deceased loved ones' messages, which were quite accurate.
All right, congratulations on allowing the connection to spirit and allowing her transition to spirit to connect you more strongly with yourself in spirit as well, which is giving you these side effects.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. Are there any ways to sharpen or enhance these abilities?
Follow the formula.
Okay. Um,
Allow yourself to know that those people are still with you. Don't think of them as gone. Learn to communicate in your dreams or in physical reality through your mind, through your heart with these people. If you feel them in your heart, they will feel it and they will reach out to you. And you can use your increased sensitivity to know that you are receiving messages from them that support you and encourage you to move forward and do the things that are of service to other humans that you are doing more and more.
how does a regular person who doesn't have these increased sensing abilities um, determine if it's a sign from it?
Follow the formula.
Okay. Um, but the second part of his question says, I sometimes have the feeling of being out of body, but I'm afraid to surrender to this because it feels very scary. Do you have any methods to help let go of the fear of out of body experiences?
Yes, examine your belief systems about what you're afraid might happen if you're out of body. Some people are afraid they might get stuck out of their body. Believe me, you won't. Because if it's not your time to go, you will be sent back. So there's nothing to fear. Find out what the fear belief is and find out why that seems rational to you, why that seems true to you. Because very often these things aren't true. They're just what you've been taught or what you've been taught to think about something or how you think it works when it doesn't work that way at all. Again, you always have guidance. You can't get stuck outside your body. You will not leave before your time unless you choose to literally obliterate your physical form. And
Mhm.
if you're not doing that, I guarantee you, you will be sent back if it's not your time. And if it is your time, you will be given a choice. Do you want to stay? Do you want to go back? So don't worry about it. And especially if you're just doing out of body travel, it's not even that you are experiencing what you call a near death experience where you've actually died. So just doing out of body travel is not going to get you stuck outside your body. You will have encounters with different beings and you will decide whether or not they are representative of a vibration that you prefer or not. And you can make your decisions and shift yourself to whatever realities you prefer when you are in the astral form. But again, you're never alone. You have guidance. So call upon your guides to assist you with out-of-body experiences, and they're happy to help you with this.
Mhm. Yes, I have a feeling of a fear of falling when I'm out of body, that I'm going to fall and crash.
How can you fall when you weigh nothing? Gravity doesn't affect you when you're out of body.
Yes, we have to remember that.
So again, the idea of falling is simply your interpretation of densifying your vibrational frequency to go back to physical reality.
Right.
That's what you're sensing, and you're just interpreting it as the sensation of falling. And that's why you call the idea of, oh, the fallen angels. You're just talking about the densification of spirit into the experience of physical reality. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bashar. I wanted to ask one last thing. Is there anything else that you would like to add to this transmission that I didn't cover today?
Only again, the reminder that you are all powerful beings because you're all reflections of all that is. That unconditional support and love is the very vibrational frequency of existence itself. And you are all deserving of it because you are a part of existence. You exist. And if you're asking questions like, do I really exist? That ability to ask the question is proof of your existence. Don't overcomplicate things. Don't trick yourselves. These are just tricks. You exist, and you deserve all the unconditional love and support that existence is built out of because you are a part of it. We remind you of that. We thank you, our unconditional love to you all, and now we bid you the opportunity and encourage you to take the opportunity to relax and experience the imagination and meditation of the invite you to relax, let go of the cares of the day, breathe deeply, become comfortable, You may accompany any music or visuals you wish, eyes open or closed, but allow your imagination to expand into the following scenario. The silver cord exists for each and every one of you individually. We are suggesting an exercise where throughout your day, as you go about your business, whatever it may be, with any single being you encounter, be it human or otherwise, allow yourself to imagine this cord, this silvery, scintillating energy stream rising from them up to the sky, so high that it vanishes from your sight, knowing that that cord, like a thread, like a link, is going to their higher mind in non-physical spirit reality. So as you go through your day, walking around, communicating with anyone, family, friends, or strangers on the street, even if they're driving in their car, see the cord going up through the roof of the car into the heavens. See those strings for everyone that you meet. Use your imagination, use your creativity. It doesn't mean you have to see them visually, literally, although some can, but see those silver cords rising into spirit, vanishing from sight, knowing that there is information and communication coming down and up along those lines for everyone. Get used to seeing those cords as projections of consciousness from on high, from the non-physical realm of spirit, projecting that personality, that person, that physical being into the physical dream. Start getting used to seeing those cords existing all the time, and it can give you a different appreciation and perspective of every person and what their journey is about, knowing you are all connected to Source, all, no matter what your perspective, no matter what your beliefs, positive or negative, you are all connected that way. See those cords and see if you can ascertain in any way, shape, or form with your intuition and your inspiration the information that is coming so that you can learn what paths everyone is walking, why they may be choosing the paths they are choosing, positively or negatively. See how that cord and information coming along it blends with their belief systems about what they believe is possible or probable for them, where their limitations may lie. But nevertheless, in knowing that and intuiting that and in sensing the vibrations of that mixture, of that information coming from the higher mind into the physical mind, the personality translating it into physical thoughts, words, actions, and beingness, the physical experience, even though mixed, understand that everyone has the ability, because they have those connections, to gain and open up to more information coming along those silver cords, that everyone is connected to Source through those cords, through that energy path, through that electromagnetic wavelength that you interpret as a silver cord, and start seeing those cords all the time with people walking around and that stream rising to the heavens everywhere, for everyone, in everything, all the time. And see if that starts to change your perspective of how you relate to different people when you are communicating with them or even just observing them, and allowing you to ponder what is coming along that electromagnetic cord, that silver cord. What kind of information are they receiving? What kind of information are they ignoring from their higher minds that might give you insight by wiretapping into those silver cords as to how you may be able to serve them when appropriate, by sharing with them information that you may be able to siphon from those silver cords that they may be preventing themselves from becoming aware of. Again, it doesn't mean that you have to tell them something, that they have to listen. It's none of your business what they do with that information, and you'll be able to perceive when it is appropriate and not appropriate to share that information with them. But by being able to perceive that those cords exist, you may have greater insight and greater compassion for all of the experiences that humans have upon the earth. For all of you have that connection back to higher mind, back to source. Allow yourselves to practice this every day. When you go out, see everyone with those cords rising from their head. All the animals, all the trees, all life have those cords rising back to spirit because, again, in this order, first and foremost, as above, so below. Everything that exists in physical reality begins and has its counterpart in spirit first and foremost. What comes into the manifestation of physical reality may not be exactly as it is in spirit. It may be a limited version of it, but nevertheless, it starts in spirit. As above, so below. It's not as below, so above. It's as above, so below. Allow yourself to begin to perceive the silver cords in everyone, and you will have gained great insight into the communication coming from their higher minds to their physical minds, as well as your own. Practice this every day if you wish. It will give you great insight, not only into the present, but also into the alternate parallel realities that you call the upcoming future. Our unconditional love to you all. We bid you an exciting day of self-discovery and play. Aveo. Good day. We are now undertaking the transmission to talk about what people on your planet have called the silver cord. The idea of the silver cord, it is that perceived by many who have sensitivity to it, and perceived by those sometimes who are experiencing out-of-body and near-death experiences as the energetic connection, the electromagnetic connection between your physical version of self and your spiritual version of self. It is the connection that represents the idea that as a spirit, you have projected your consciousness into the dream of physical reality. And as long as you are still experiencing a life as a physical personality, as a physical being, this connection, this extension comes from your non-physical higher mind, your soul self, into the dream of physical reality and is perceived as this scintillating energetic pathway along which information and energy are downloaded and uploaded, along which communication occurs back and forth between your higher mind and your physical mind. And because of its electromagnetic nature, your senses perceive it as kind of a silvery blue sort of energetic pathway, a kind of cord, as you call it, between the non-physical and physical selves. And the idea is that as long as you are physically alive, this cord will exist and allow you to know that you are always connected to your higher self, your non-physical personality, so to speak, your non-physical identity. And that it is the transmission line, sometimes referred to as inspiration, imagination, that allows you to perceive from a higher level while you are physical, allows you to receive the energetic messages from the higher mind along this pathway for each and every one of you individually, allows you to know that you are always connected to source and all that is, allows you to guide yourself and be guided by the higher mind in a way that is representative of the path of least resistance, and so is very vital for you to become aware of, not only for yourselves, but in others as well. So at the conclusion of this transmission, we will have an exercise that will assist you in recognizing and being more capable of perceiving the silver cord that exists for all of you as you go through physical reality, as you go through your life, to heighten your senses to be a little bit more aware, whether visually or not, of the silver cord that exists for everyone, so that you can begin to perceive everyone as being connected to their higher minds. So we will undertake that exercise at the conclusion of this transmission. But for now, in return for the gift you are giving us, in allowing us to experience each and every one of you, we ask, how may we serve you now? Please begin with your questions and your dialogue.
Hello, Bashar.
Good day, good day.
How are you?
Perfect, and you?
I'm very well, thank you.
All right, what would you like to discuss this day?
The first one is about following my excitement.
Yes.
I spent 3 months in Australia a few years ago and loved everything about the place, the wildlife, the people, the landscapes, and I'd love to live there, but I've not found a way of going there with the visas and things. I don't meet the criteria. I'm not sure whether maybe it's because it's not part of my life path.
Well, maybe not yet.
Timing.
Maybe not yet. It could be just the timing. Remember, the formula states that you act to the best you can on your excitement. And if you can't act on the thing that seems to be the most exciting, you act on what you can that you are able to act on, which could ultimately lead to your ability to act on other things that you are excited about. So if you have really allowed your creativity and imagination to attempt every possible way of going to Australia, being that as a representation of acting on your highest excitement, and you find that you cannot do it, then you have to remember there is both green light synchronicity and red light synchronicity. The green light synchronicity being that which you are capable of taking some action on, and the red light synchronicity not being negative in a sense, but simply saying this is not the path to take, this is not the step to take right now, therefore it could be a matter of timing. So stay focused in the excitement of being where you are excited to be, but remember that there can be no insistence. If you find that there is nothing you can do to act on it right now, act on what you can act on, and if it is necessary for you to wind up in that place on your planet, then acting on the next thing you are capable of acting on will ultimately lead you to have the ability to do so. Do you understand how this works more clearly now?
Yes, that really helps. Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
Yes, I have a question about a fear I've had for a long time, since a child.
Yes.
And I just need some help in finding a way to overcome it. I think it's related to a trauma I experienced as a child.
Such as?
It affected me when I was on swings, trampolines, and then later on in life, it started affecting me with driving. So I haven't driven for years, and I'd love to. I love to have the freedom to travel everywhere, but this fear is limiting me, and I'm not sure how to overcome it.
Well, what is it a fear of? What are you afraid will happen?
It's to do with the speed. I'm fine when I'm driving in lots of traffic and in towns, but as soon as I get on a road where I have to build up speed, it's something about the speed of having to come.
And what are you afraid will happen if you go too fast?
Yes, it's this fear that just instinctively kicks in.
Fear of what?
I'm not sure.
Are you afraid you're going to crash?
See, logically, I know I'm a very good driver, and it just doesn't make sense, this fear to me.
Well, obviously, it must make sense to you on some level, or it wouldn't be there. You're holding on to it for some reason, and it could have to do with the idea energetically of fearing that you're going ahead of yourself, that you're not staying in the present, that you're going too fast, that if you go faster, if you accelerate in your vibration and your energy, that something will be missed, you will leave something behind, something bad will happen. We'll relate this symbolically to the idea of your own growth and acceleration. Is there something about the idea of growth and acceleration energetically and spiritually that you are dubious about in terms of staying a little bit in the slow lane so that you don't go too fast for yourself, that you are afraid you might miss something or cause harm to yourself or someone?
I'm not sure. I'm not aware of any hesitation. I mean, I'm excited to explore and move forward, and all the spiritual aspects of moving to the new earth, all that.
All right.
Exciting.
Let's change the subject a little bit while still remaining in the general arena. What are you excited about in life besides what you've already talked about?
Wildlife, animals, plants. I just love being in nature. I would love something, a job, working in the habitat, helping the habitats.
And is that something you can act on?
I do to the best of my ability. I spend as much time in nature when I'm around animals. I just love to be around animals, any creatures.
All right.
I do as much as I can.
One moment. Is there some more specific way you can be of assistance with regard to the idea of wildlife?
I did start an ecology course at university, but I found the chemistry and physics too stressful. So I wasn't able to continue.
Yes, but I'm talking about the idea that there are particular places that actually assist animals, harbor animals, treat animals with kindness and love. And in that sense, are there places like that you are attracted to be at?
Yes, I'd like to work at nature reserves.
Where are you living now?
I'm in Stratford-upon-Avon in England.
Is there any such thing in your area, or do you need to go to another area to be able to work at such a place?
I need to go to another area to do that, and part of the issue is the driving to get there.
Well, you don't have to drive fast to get there, do you?
Well, yes and no, because some of the roads,
what's the yes and what's
you
the
have
no?
to go. Pardon?
What's the yes and what's the no?
I don't have to go fast, but on certain roads, you really do need to go a certain speed because you'd be causing an accident. And
yes, we understand. We understand. Are you saying there are no other roads, no other ways to get there that would be accommodating the speed that you are comfortable at?
See, even on country roads, country lanes, there tends to be like a speed limit of 50 miles an hour, and that for me is too fast.
What is your ideal speed when driving?
Probably about 30 miles an hour.
All right. Now, let's go back to the idea of, is there some place that you can move to that would allow you a shorter distance of travel to working at the places that we're talking about?
Yes, that would be an option. Yes.
Well, what is that?
Well, there's places nearby like Warwick, and I think they have nature reserves which I could go and work at.
Then why aren't you?
Yes, I could help voluntarily.
All right. Well, why aren't you then?
Good question.
Well, thank you. Do you have a good answer?
Yes, I think because I've travelled around a lot and I've finally settled in Stratford-upon-Avon. I love it here. It's the upheaval of moving again when it's not really the place I want to move to.
All right, one moment. Where is it you said that you could go and volunteer? Is it close?
It's not too far. It's not on like a bus route, but yes, it would mean driving.
But can you drive there at your comfortable speed?
I'm not sure because I haven't looked too much into this.
Here's the idea. You're not really acting on your excitement. Not really, because you're allowing your fears to hold you back. And it's actually preventing you from trying to find options that would allow you to take action on what you say is your excitement. So let go of the fear in the sense of, oh, I can't do this because A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Find ways to get around it. Find places that you would like to be working at that would allow you to travel there in a comfortable manner. But you're not even doing that.
I think it's because of the hesitation of driving again. That's what's held me back.
Yes, I know. That's what I just said. But it's your expectation that you have to drive a certain way to get there that is holding you back, when you could be looking for places you don't have to drive quickly to get to.
Yeah.
So we would suggest that if you're truly passionate and excited about doing what you say you're wishing to do by working with animals or in a reserve, then allow yourself to keep looking for places that are close enough and accessible enough to your driving at the speed in which you are comfortable.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'll do that.
All right.
Thank you
You are welcome. Does that help you?
very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
It is our passion and our pleasure. You're welcome. Aveo.
Aveo.